Welcome to the Pat White Show. Well, if you'll allow me the courtesy of helping update you on Operation FAFO, the Tango. Well, that's all having to do with what 6 members of the Democrat Party recently did, producing a video that said, hey, if you're in the military, don't obey illegal orders. Problem is, they never said what illegal orders they're talking about. This entire cadre was led by Captain Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's a former captain in the United States Navy, also a former astronaut, and someone who for many years had my greatest respect. I mean, everybody serves as an astronaut. That's totally cool. I got a lot of respect there. And the fact that he was a Navy captain and he flew in Iraq, all right, a little more respect comes there. So anybody who served the military who's flying has my respect, or did have my respect. In his case, he has lost it big time. And he's gotten himself in really big problems that the Department of War is saying, hey, we may recall you. Now you're going to say, what? What do you mean recall him? He's retired. Well, let me tell you something, folks. If you are a retired officer from the military like me, if you're retired, you can be recalled if you screw up. So once again, the FAFO Tango comes into play here. This has to do with I believe it is 10 U.S.C. 688. You can look it up yourself. You want to check the U.S.C. code. And you do bad stuff like that, you do things that affect the military or can affect the military, you can be recalled. And frankly, you can be court-martialed. Not that you're going to, but you can suffer some serious harm. They can take away your benefits, your retirement, your VA benefits, the whole bunch of stuff they can do because you screwed up. Now, Mark Kelly did not defend democracy. He didn't protect freedoms. And all he did was, in my opinion, he caused confusion. He caused when you cause confusion, especially in the military, you're going to get people hurt. Sorry. That's what's going to happen. You create cause and confusion. You talk about these young military guys, they're going to go, gee, I wonder if that's a legal order. No, it says in the UCMJ. It says in the oath of office that you take. Here, take a look. There's the oath of office. You'll follow the orders of the president. And those orders are researched by everybody down the lane. Trust me. They are researched big time. Now, have people made mistakes in the war, got themselves in trouble? You bet. Talking about the My Lai massacre, that was one. Gentleman in charge of that thing found himself in jail. He was prosecuted. You can't make mistakes like that. You're not supposed to do. But Captain Kelly, in this case, because I don't really want to call him a senator because he's defamed himself, he created a big problem. And now he's facing 10 U.S.C. 688 and also another one, 18 U.S.C. 2387. Says you do something, there's a civilian, they can call you back in and you can be fanged. I just want you to understand this. I don't know what's going to happen, but take a look at this. Here's the letter that the Department of War sent out saying to him, here's what you did, here's the problem. And if he's called back into service, which he can be, any retired officer can be called back into service. If you screw up on the outside and defame the military and do something really bad, you're going to be hauled in. What's going to happen in his case, I don't know. It's a political football, it's a political mess, and it's going to be a war. At least that's what Mark Kelly wants to have, as a war. Now, how will this end up? I don't know. Will it be dropped? I don't know. Will they try to court-martial him under the UCMJ? I don't know. All I know is this was a political stunt that has gone awry and is blown back at them and like a busted firecracker big time. All those people, they should be ashamed of themselves. They're probably not. But why did you produce this? Let me answer that. Why did you produce it? And 2, what are you talking about specifically? And when asked, none of them could respond. It's a political FAFO, and they're finding out exactly what's going to happen. The one to find out is the biggest is retired Captain Mark Kelly. Sorry, Senator. Sorry, Captain. You screwed up, and now you may have to pay the price. Well, when you think of the term deja vu, means something all over again. Well, in this case, all over again is a casino in the Fort Wayne area. As you know, there's been a lot of talk about casinos in recent months. Remember, the Rising Sun, southern part of the state, wanted to relocate their casino to New Haven. A lot of hoopla was going on in that. Meetings, designers, all sorts of stuff was done saying this would be the greatest thing for New Haven and it would help out the area and bring in tourism, money, and everything else. All right. Did any politician in Allen County support it in any way, shape, or form? That's a question worthy of asking. The answer is no, not one did. It took a politician from the Huntington County to actually raise it down at the state. And out at the state, when it was raised in a committee, the committee chairman says, we ain't hearing a bill involving that. New Haven. So what happened after that? Well, then suddenly they passed a new law that says we're going to have a committee, a special third party, investigate where that Rising Sun Casino could put itself. And they did their study and came up with a few locations, 4 to be exact. Top 2 was Indianapolis and Auburn, Indiana. Indianapolis and Auburn, Indiana. And one on the east side of the state and one over near north of Lafayette. Well, there's some problems with those, namely because the Indian tribes have some exclusive area, and Auburn is very close to their exclusive area, and that could be an issue. But overall, they say India is still the number one place to do it, number one place to put a casino. Well, then we hear about a place called Circle Center Mall down in Indianapolis that is going out of business. As a matter of fact, the remaining stores in Circle Center Mall have been told to shut down at the end of the year, and they will be gone. That mall will then be officially empty. Now, people who own Circle Center said, we're going to spend $500 million to turn it into something new, different, and spectacular, and whatever. Well, it turns out $500 million is the same amount of money that Rising Sun says they're going to do to put in a new casino. And I don't know why the two numbers are absolutely identical. So then we have Greater Fort Wayne coming along saying, hey, we want a casino in Allen County. All right, let's compare and contrast a little bit. Let's compare with what's going on down in Indy. Well, apparently this group, the third party group from the state, says Indy's probably the best place to put a casino. And believe it or not, the Circle Center Mall is probably the best place downtown to attract people from the basketball games, the football games, the baseball games, and anything else that Indy has going on downtown. Casino gives people something to do when they ain't at the games. All right, so let's compare that with Fort Wayne. What is Fort Wayne offering? Oh, let's bring a casino in, says the Greater Fort Wayne nonprofit. Why, it'll create good-paying jobs. I'm not sure about that because I haven't seen any numbers that indicate that. 2, partnership with smaller businesses. Really? What kind of partnerships? 3, increased tax revenue. As tax revenue. Casinos generate a lot of money and the cities get some of that coinage, okay? And they're probably right in that area. And 4, attract tourism. Well, is that the kind of tourism you want? Because what else are they going to do in Fort Wayne aside from the fact, oh, go to the zoo and let's go to the casino. Okay, honey, let's all go to the zoo and then we're running over to the casino. Sorry, it don't work that way. You've been to the casinos in Anderson? Been to the casinos in Michigan City? Been to the casino in South Bend by any chance? The truth of the matter is this, that decision where the casino is going to be made down in the state of Indianapolis, not in the city of Fort Wayne. And are there any politicians in Allen County that have previously supported a casino in Allen County? I'm waiting to hear any names. Are there any politicians that would currently support a casino in Allen County? Any names? You know, that's the problem. If you don't have politicians who want a casino in their market, they're not going to vote for it. And without them, the state will not approve anything into your particular market. Let's be honest. The state is going to determine where that casino goes from Rising Sun. Not the city of Fort Wayne, not the Chamber of Commerce, not Greater Fort Wayne, not anybody else. And this, to me, is a pipe dream. If you want to spend the money on it with the website and all the promotion, everything else, go right ahead. It's your cause. But I'll tell you right now, we know what happened in New Haven, and we know that Fort Wayne doesn't want it. And ultimately, if you try to put it in Fort Wayne, it's going to undergo a referendum. And I could pretty well guarantee what the referendum is going to say. No, they don't want it. If they wanted one, they would have had one a long time ago. Apparently, people here don't want it for a number of reasons. That's their call. They can feel that way any way they want. They want to travel to other cities to spend their money. That's their call. But right now, trying to bring a new casino to Fort Wayne after what happened in New Haven and the survey from a third-party company from Indianapolis says Indy is the best place for one. Auburn, it sounds good. Look at it realistically, it's not possible. So Indy's going to get it. It's going to end up down in Circle Center Mall. That's my opinion. I stand by it. And we'll see what happens. But Greater Fort Wayne, trying to get a new casino, folks, don't waste your time, your money, and your intelligence. It ain't going to happen in Fort Wayne. Just saying. You're probably pretty familiar about what's going on in the United States government, especially involves 6 people, led by Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, talking about, well, what the military should do about disobeying illegal orders. Now, I'm not going to get into all of that. I'm going to give you a little background on something and make you think about this. Back in 2022, President Joe Biden was at a meeting, a state dinner, if you will, talking about the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, this is the act that Congress passed that put $2 trillion more dollars into the American economy, inflating the economy and, well, deflating your money. That putting $2 trillion caused inflation to rise 20% because the U.S. money is not based on anything. And when you put more paper into the market, the paper you have becomes worth less. Well, anyway, at this particular conference, he was talking about the Second Amendment, believe it or not. And he said, you know, for you Americans out there, you right-wingers who believe in the Second Amendment to protect America, he said, you know what? You want to fight the country? You're going to need an F-15. And I got to thinking about that remark he made back in 2022. He's saying to the people who support the Second Amendment, because believe it or not, when the people wrote the Constitution way back, hundreds of years ago, the reason they have the Second Amendment is to keep America armed. So if America turns into a tyrant, turns into a particular type of government, people could rise up and, fight America, take it back, tell the government you can't doing what you're doing. So that's why people have guns today. That's one of the reasons the Constitution has the Second Amendment. To be able to tell the government, you ain't going to do that. We're going to rise up. You turn into a tyranny, you're going to get it. Now, so what Joe Biden said in 2022 at this particular meeting was, for you right-wing followers, you Americans who are right-wingers, you want to take over the country, you're going to need an F-15. All right, let me ask you this. So he's implying that if right-wingers try to take over America, is he saying they're going to launch the F-15s in the military to shoot Americans that are going after the country? Now, this is all, you could say, well, this is all hyperbole. Well, I didn't say it. Joe Biden said, if you're going to take over the country, you're going to need an F-15. You with your pop guns, your rifles, your pistols, and what have you, you can't beat the United States because the military has the F-15 and every other aircraft. So is he implying that if the populace tries to take over the government, he's going to instruct the military to kill Americans? Well, let me ask you this question then. Is that then considered an illegal order? The people that are saying, well, no, people have to understand the military, if they see an illegal order, they don't have to do it. They're constitutionally protected. Don't do anything illegal. So if the president says to the military, well, you launch all your airplanes, you put your missiles on, and we want you to go shooting Americans who are trying to take over the government. Is that a legal order? And do you think the pilots of those airplanes are going to say, yes, sir, that's a legal order. I can go out and shoot Americans? Because remember, we have a posse comitatus act that the military cannot be law enforcement. And isn't taking F-15s and flying them against right-wingers who are trying to take over the government, wouldn't that be violating posse comitatus? So would pilots really say, yes, sir, I'm going to do it? Would all those folks do it, say that's an illegal order, and they won't do it? No, it's a lot of hyper stuff going on here, and I understand that. You're going to say, no, that can never happen. I didn't say it. Joe Biden said it. Go look it up for yourself, 2022. He said it. Here's the quotes. You can watch them. See exactly what he said at this meeting. Now, you may have forgotten about it, but it's there in history because nothing gets forgotten today. So saying that illegal orders, Joe Biden saying F-15s, would military pilots accept that order? Would that be an illegal order? Simple question to ask. I'm just bringing this up for you to think about because, well, sedition, that's one thing. Let the courts handle that. Let everything else, what's going to go on with that. But remember, Joe Biden did in fact say that if right-wingers try to take over the country, they'd have to have an F-15, implying that he would launch the military against civilians. And is that an illegal order? Something for you to think about. Now you know. Well, recently I told you I had an opportunity to ride along with the Fort Wayne Police Department in one of their ride-alongs. Nothing happened on my particular ride-along, but something did happen on November the 14th. It was a Friday afternoon that I wish I had been a ride-along on that day in that particular district, because I might have been able to see something that happened that pretty much crazy. That's all you can say. Started over at Northcrest Shopping Center when police were starting to chase a gentleman by the name of Cole Timler. Cole was driving Cadillac CTS and apparently had done something wrong. The police were chasing him, and Mr. Timler did not want to be caught. So he goes racing out of Northcrest onto Noble Drive. Then he turns into the shops in Coldwater. Now that's where that pet store is, and the Joanne Fabrics, or those kind of small stores there. And he's running around that parking lot, going through the cars with police trying to chase him. And all this is going on, and people are coming out going, what the heck is going on? Well, it turns out that a gentleman by the name of Aaron Hadwin, he's 28 years of age, he was with a wife and family at the pet store. He came out and saw what was going on, puts his family, his wife and his kids in his pickup truck, and pulls out a 22 caliber Colt FIE revolver and shoots 2 shots at the car. And he said the reason he shot the 2 shots at the car was because he felt endangered. He said he was shooting into the radiator. Well, let me see. That particular gun, you can take a look here, is a 22 caliber revolver. Sells for about $150. But shooting into the radiator of a Cadillac CTS, or whatever the Cadillac designation is, I'm not sure it's going to stop the Cadillac. But going out there and shooting a gun at somebody because you're afraid that, they're coming for me, well, as it turns out, Mr. Hadwin is now in the pokey. That's right. So you have 2 people in jail. You have Mr. Cole Timler, who was trying to evade police for reckless driving and whatever else he was doing. And then Mr. Hadwin, he's in jail with a Class 5 felony and a Class 6 felony. One, discharging a weapon, reckless endangerment, if you will, and he's sitting in jail waiting for his hearing. So here's something to think about. NRA rules are very specific about things because here's what happened and here's the reason things got bad. See, there was this lady driving on Coldwater Road. She was stopped in traffic and suddenly piece of metal flies into her car and lands in her lap. Turns out that was part of a bullet fragment from Mr. Hadwin's gun from that 22 caliber he was shooting at the Cadillac. See, like I said, the NRA said the rules are simple. Rule number 4, always know what's behind what you're shooting at. That's rule number 4. Always know what's behind what you're shooting at. And personally, between you and me, I don't think a 22 caliber revolver is going to bring down a CTS Cadillac shooting it in the radiator. Just my opinion. Now, like I said, I wish my ride along had been Saturday. That would have been, or at least Friday, that would have been a fun one to watch to see how everything progressed. But now we have 2 people in jail. The one running from the police and the one shooting at the bad guy. Neither one's a good plan, folks. So whatever you do, don't be using a 22 caliber revolver to go shoot at an automobile's radiator. It probably is not going to amount to a much of nothing. And frankly, do you think that was really going to stop that caddy? Just my thought. One of the weirdest stories I've heard. But Fort Wayne, we get some weird stories. And this one is a biggie. Well, back in the day when we had the COVID situation, something happened that you probably didn't know about, but well, now you need to know about it. It seems back then the United States military told everybody in the military, you will get a COVID shot or you will be mustered out of the service. That's right. Military people were told you get the shot or you're, well, fired, for lack of a better term. Turns out over 8,300 people were mustered out of the United States military. And those included less than honorable discharges. Now, there's a bunch of different discharges, generals, BCDs, and what have you. But people who were tossed out of the military for the refusal to take a COVID shot were given less than honorable discharges. Well, President Trump has decided that was wrong, and he has fixed it. He issued out an executive order, 14184, and he said, we're taking those people who were tossed out, we're bringing them back in. We're offering them the opportunity to come back in, get their record cleared. Now, for those who, frankly, decided they're not going to come back, they're having their VA benefits reinstalled. That's right. The people who were tossed out because they didn't take a COVID shot are getting their VA benefits put back into force. Now, you have to contact the VA, go through the board, get it all taken care of and show why you didn't want the shot, get all the P's and Q's, all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. But you could get your VA benefits installed if you were one of those 8,000 people who were tossed out because they wouldn't take the shot. Now, thus far, over 900 people have been identified, get their VA benefits back. And the VA benefits are pretty doggone important for folks. Have to do with things like education, getting your education taken care of and paid for, or VA loans, those kind of things. So, if you're one of those people that was, mustered out of the military because you refused to take the COVID shot, executive order says you're allowed to come back in and you're allowed to get your name cleared and get your VA benefits back installed into you. So, contact the VA, get the information done, get the data installed and put into the system, and get your VA benefits back because you deserve those benefits. So, it's now available. An executive order has put it all back on the line, and now you'll be cleared and have that that discharge you don't like, have it taken off your record. That's the right thing to do, and I'm glad the administration has done it. I want to talk to you a little bit about an issue that happened in Phoenix, Arizona, the home of Arizona State University, and at a bar called the Tempe Tavern. Now, you probably don't know what the place is, but you may have the same experience that we're going to discuss. It seems the Tempe Tavern had a whole group of people inside from Arizona State University, all with IDs, but it turns out the IDs were all fake. The alcohol department, police went in and checked all the IDs and searched them all and figured out they're all fake IDs and arrested 246 kids. Well, last year, the Tempe Tavern had another bus that took up 146 kids, all carrying fake IDs. Now, that brings me to this. What about all those CDLs on the streets from California and New York featuring licenses with no name of the individual on the license, just a picture? CDL, they've got it. Was it fake? Well, If it was issued by the state, you could say, no, it's not fake. It was issued by the state. But is it still a fraudulent license because the person is not qualified to be a CDL, hasn't taken the test, doesn't even speak English? 246 kids busted for fake IDs at a tavern in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, is it happening in other cities and other states? You can almost bet it is. And frankly, if you got a kid at Purdue or IU, that kid probably has a fake ID. You may not ask your kid. I don't know if he or she will tell you they have one, but I can almost guarantee you in today's society, they will have one. Because now it's a market. Now everybody else who wants to get a fake ID can get one pretty easily because they're so easily made with the new printers and all the equipment that we have in the United States. Heck, you can build almost anything with these 3D printers. But now these printers have become so sophisticated, they can issue out fake IDs. And that's exactly what happened down in Phoenix. 246 fake IDs. Now, should kids be drinking under the age of 21? Well, many years ago, you were 18 and you could drink. And you can talk about people over here in the state of Indiana who used to go over to a bar over in Ohio. Apparently they served 3-2 beer, but they were still driving to a bar over in Ohio to drink their liquor over there. But our kids, our universities at Purdue or IU, are they drinking in bars? Chances are pretty good they have fake IDs. This is what's happened in today's world. Well, or under the age of 21 be drinking? Well, we're letting them vote, aren't we? Yeah, people under the age of 21, you can vote at 18 to determine who's the president of the United States or who's your congressman or senator. But they're saying, well, but they can't drink, but you can vote. It does sound a little bit whopper-jawed, doesn't it? Well, there's what you're getting, folks. Your youngsters today can get an ID because it's easy to do. Yes, you can get caught, you can get busted, and you can get charged. But is it worth the risk? Apparently, a lot of young folks, especially college age, think, yes, it is. And for those who are wondering about the whole concept, ask yourself why we have CDL people out there who have no legal license at all, have a license. And why? We let 18-year-olds vote. And now, former Vice President Kamala Harris has gone publicly and said it's time that we allow 16-year-olds to vote. Where have we gone in America? Don't psychologists say the brain on someone is not totally functional and developed until they're, 25, 26? After all, kid can be on his parents' health insurance until he's 26, right? But arresting people for a fake ID at a big college in Arizona, it's nothing different than happens at every other college in America. Because now, apparently a fake ID means nothing. Whether you're a kid in college or you're driving an 18-wheeler semi-tractor trailer that weighs over 50,000 pounds. Either way, apparently you can still do it. Does it make it right? No. Does it exist? It sure as heck does. And will it stop? One could only guess.